Hello, good evening. Welcome to Speak Up Monday. Round of applause. Oh. There you go, studio audience. So welcome to Speak Up Monday. We're here every Monday here at Tropical Nomad, and we go live just a little bit before 6:30. Like to be on time. And look, every week we're here. This is episode number 354. This episode, once a month, we devote to health. So it's called The Future of Health, Conversations That Matter 2023. And it's curated by my wonderful friend and colleague, Tracy G, who is behind Health Hub Bali, which we'll get into in a minute. And yeah, so for Tracy, it's been a journey of some 8 to 10 years bringing all of this together. So we're very happy once a month to host it with a panel of experts to talk about health that matters, right? Daniel, come on in. So tonight is all about, beyond the diagnosis. So beyond the diagnosis. Now, we'll get to that topic in a moment, but I think what we'll do is we'll introduce our panel. So the way we'll do that is that we'll ask them to speak just a little bit about themselves so we get a little bit of an idea on who they are and kind of why they're here. And we'll start with Tav, then we'll go to Tracy, and then we'll finish with Cooney. So Tav, over to you, my man.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, all right. My name is Tav. I'm from Australia. I guess fell into this field of wellness about 14 years ago. My wife was diagnosed with cancer, and you do as everyone does when you go to, you get diagnosed, you go to the doctor, they tell you all of the things that you don't want to hear and you want to go like that to them. So basically they did exactly that. I think we got treated the way that everyone else does, realized that that wasn't a good option and started looking at alternatives ourselves. And basically haven't stopped looking because I recognized that there was so much information and so many options out there for alternative methods, techniques, and devices that more people should be aware of these things. So I kind of made it my mission to expose this information and learn about as much as possible, and then, provide as much of that information to as many people as possible as well. So I'm still here doing that, however many years later.
And how, just out of interest, how do you disseminate or pass on that information to other people?
Banging their heads into the wall doesn't help. But I find that it's basically, I'm sort of working on a number of different projects that incorporate a lot of this technology. So it's basically implementing these alternative techniques into devices and projects that I'm working on to allow more and more people to be exposed to it and then understand what's really, the truth behind all of that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. And look, so Cooney. So firstly, I just want to thank Cooney. Cooney wasn't supposed to be on the panel tonight. It was one of the pharmacists, but he got basically called out on a really important meeting. So Cooney's going to be filling in. And look, if by the way at some point Cooney becomes someone different, it's okay. Don't adjust your screen. It means that he's arrived and we swap them out quickly. If he doesn't, then we have the beautiful Coonies, which I'm happy with as well. So look, Cooney, if you could tell us maybe just a little bit about you, and why you were invited to tonight's show, anything you feel might be relevant, that would be great. So ready to go? Just point at your mouth. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Cooney. I came to Bali about 14 years ago, and I used to work in aerospace industry for more than 10 years. And the first time we came here, it's because of we really realized that we don't really like to work in a corporate office or corporate job. And when we came here, it's pretty much nothing here, so we can't really get anything that products and any kind of like organic products that available in Bali is very limited. So that's where I go back to school again and then study for a formulating. And during my time doing formulating, that was like about 5-6 years ago. And then after I graduated, I got several independent freelancing formulating for skincare products based on nature. And that's where I decided to go into more microbiome. So all my ingredients that I'm using basically is very safe and effective, and also environmentally safe. And I have a daughter. She's a bit of autistic, and we had a lot of problem with her being able to how to say it, to show her emotion. So we decided to pick up a dog, and as you guys all know, the problem with the dogs here, it's a lot with really bad skin problems and stuff like that. So I go into more detail about how to treat that problem without using antibiotics, cream or antibiotic orally because it doesn't work. And that's where I decided to go into making a products for animal as well. So, and that's where I did a lot of reading, and then I researched a lot of literature. And I actually found that there's a lot of correlation between the microbiome inside on the human with the animal that living with us. That's where it goes into more into this journey that when I decided to make a product, I also think about what is really safe for the human as well. So,
you know, one of the things that I find fascinating, because I know Cooney well and a partner, husband Itchy, they're the owners here at Tropical Nomad. What blows me away about you is that here is a wonderful person, 10 years in the aeronautical industry, right? And then decides, hey, I think we need to change something here. And then moving that knowledge, into, as you mentioned, natural, healthy products. And here I know Tropical Nomad, you started off, with household products, right? Which was so good for the environment. You found that, there's no, 0% safe with aquatic life, right? Which again, most of the household products people use, they flush them down the toilet, flush them down the sink, and that creates problems down the line. And your products don't, right? And I remember that's where it started. And then there was kombucha as well. I remember this, right? And then you were using that beautiful mind of yours, making the most incredible kombucha. You got to bring it back. It tastes so good, right? Kombucha as well. And then I remember, when the dogs came on, you've still got like how many? 3 kids, and is it 12 dogs? 14 dogs. If anyone wants a dog, just come see these. Talk about take your research home with you. 14 dogs. So then, again, just seeing how you've brought all this wonderful knowledge and you've been able to really focus and target that knowledge into areas which is just, I think, fantastic, and all the time 100% safe for animals, for humans, and for the environment. So top marks. I'm glad that he didn't show up.
it's a gig. Ichi said that I'm a gig.
Geek. Wonderful. So, Tav, if I get you to pass your microphone to Tracy. So, Tracy, a little bit about you and a little bit about Health Hub Bali, and then we'll get started with today's episode.
Okay. So, my name's Tracy G. I'm from Australia and originally started there connecting people to better health, raising awareness about this particular subject beyond the diagnosis. What happened probably around the same period of time as Tav had the issue with the family. There seemed to be a pattern in Australia where there was like one after the other we come across, they were having diagnosis. And I just didn't think it was some of the things that was happening to them wasn't necessary. So at that time I was totally on the natural side, and over the years I've switched, and that's why I went into functional medicine. I'm a functional medicine background, but originally started in somatics and working with trauma to reset the body. So the last decade here in Bali, just setting up a platform here to connect people to better health. First of all, it's information they need, because they have to make their own choice and they can start owning their own health, and then they need to know where to go. And that's where products like these guys, and we also had Joonas, another Finnish gentleman that was joining us tonight, have understanding of how we can make safe environments and effective tools to reset and activate the body.
Wonderful. And as you mentioned with Health at Bali, the three aspects. One is that information, which again you're in touch with the latest information from around the world, experts around the world. Then number two, which you're about to mention, is about connecting people to better health, which you said through health coaches, right? And what happens is that you can be taken on an individualized health journey that's individualized to you. Whatever you're not suffering from, but whatever's happening in your body, Health at Bali are able to diagnose that using the measuring tools, let's call it that, and then able to send you to the right practitioners. And the third aspect is about certification, which will come later on in the piece for health practitioners and so on. But look, tonight's episode is about beyond diagnosis. So maybe Tracy, if you could break that down a little bit for us, so then we here know what the discussion and topic will be about tonight, and then we can get started as well.
Well, I might have covered that a bit, but probably Tav could even start talking about like what happens when people do get a diagnosis and what options they have.
Sure. Okay.
Now, did you notice a little pass?
Yeah.
That was
Not
pretty
interested
cool,
in
right?
talking at all.
Anyone who's been on, they know what just happened there. It was like a little, I want to pass this one on to Tav.
Yeah.
It worked beautifully. Wonderful. Keep on going.
All right. So from my perspective, like I'm not a medical expert or anything like that, and I actually think that sort of elevates me a lot higher than most, typical doctors, because they're so ingrained into all of the bullshit that they've been fed for their entire career. But anyway, so with regards to diagnosing people, I think, it's super important to have a really good indication on what your particular issue might be, because there's many different types of modalities and technologies that can help people, but if you're using it at the wrong time or in the wrong location of your body, then it could actually be doing more harm than good. For example, there's like red light and near-infrared light therapies that can be super amazing for like healing wounds and stimulating the body to sort of heal itself. But if you've got cancer or any other different things, that could actually be triggering and stimulating the growth of cancers even more, which obviously you don't want. So it is important to get the right kind of diagnosis, and there are a number of different ways. Don't go to the doctor and tell them what things you've got. They're just going to look at their computer and then regurgitate what they're told to tell you and what they need to cut out and what they need to give you, kind of thing. There's a lot of biofeedback devices that can actually read your body energetically and test to see if there's frequencies that you're responding to that indicates that you've got this particular illness or this particular parasite or virus or whatever it might be. And then you can actually get to the bottom of this is what the problem is and these are the things that you can do to help that, instead of just treating the symptoms like a typical allopathic doctor.
Just a quick, Tracy, we'll come back to you for a little bit of comment in a second, but just to get an idea of who's sitting here. So just a raise of hands, see if the hands work too. So who here every year has a regular diagnosis or regular measuring of what's happening in their body every year? Raise your hands. Okay, that's one person sort of, one person in and out, and yes? All right, and four. So 4 people, that's, okay. So just to make sure, who here doesn't do that? Raise your hand. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Last question, and then we'll go back to Tracy. So who here has a regular doctor, physician, or someone that they see, love, and trust here in Bali? Raise your hands. Okay. So that's no one. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for being honest. Appreciate you. Tracy, fill in some gaps for us.
Okay, so first of all, we do start with baselines, and they do matter, and we're talking about blood testing and the normal test as well. So what we can do is we can see patterns, because when someone does have a diagnosis, it didn't happen last week or 2 months ago. I'd say it can be up to 10 years in the making, and then by the time people have got 2 months to live, well, it's not really fair to them. Often these are people who've been going to the same doctor for 30 years, and suddenly something happens. So here we're about identifying what it is, and then when there is a diagnosis, what is it actually? Some of these doctors, they're general practitioners, they're not scientists themselves, and they don't have the time to hear your whole background and that. So the idea is we look at whole health, we're looking at what traumas people are being hit with, what environment they're living with. We had one lady here locally who lived in where there was a space station accident in US, and she's got a terrible issue where hundreds of people have died over the last 30 years. And now that she knew what to do. Once you know what's causing the disease, we can clear it and then start rebuilding the cells. And that's with the tools like these guys are using.
Look, so we have Cooney here. Tracy, so before you hand off to Tav, nice little delicate maneuver. I see everyone noticing it now. So how did you see Cooney and getting involved in this conversation just from the outset?
Right. Number one, she's got a science brain that looks at things whole. Because someone's a medic, they do not necessarily have that. She's working with chemists, pharmaceuticals and doctors. She's looking at the root cause, but she's also looking at the impact on the environment, on the family unit, but also the bioavailability, how the body can absorb certain ingredients, because just because they're natural, it does not necessarily mean that we can absorb them, and we're all different. So they're all the details that by nature she's concerned about. So that's been her thing that she's addressing. Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Cooney? No, you're good.
Yeah,
she's just good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now next question. What is it that you'd like to share with the audience here tonight?
All right. What did I want to share?
Was PMF? You wanted to talk about that, or is that just part of it?
Yeah, so what happens is usually the different stages beyond the diagnosis, usually there's a shock stage. So one of the things we have had these doctors here in the past is to do with trauma, the shock of getting information that people don't know how to deal with, they've never thought about it. And over the last year, we've been saying it's not if something's going to happen, when it happens, what's your strategy, what resolves do you have in place? So it's all about science here. So we want to have these go-to people and people that actually understand what's happening even in your own family, your own culture, your bloodline, what things have played out, is it necessary, and what changes you can make. Sorry, so I've gone off on the other thing. So I've got a black spot myself now. So when you get, that was to do with psychology. So often we get stuck and this panic, and so the main thing is that we get back into a state of calm. So there are, say I'm from Australia, they would have a psychologist that would see you. There are certain modalities, we're going to talk about modalities tonight, like EMDR, that can go to the part of the brain that a lot of our past, what would you say, subconscious thinking is there, and with a trained psychologist, they can help us to be okay with what is happening at that moment. The main thing is to take the fear out of the equation, because the body cannot heal in that state. So Health Hub, we're saying that body can heal, but we need to know what's happening, but not in a state of panic. So we want to take the fear out of a diagnosis.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I feel that the more knowledge, the more information that someone has about their own body and what they need to do, the more confident they're going to be in themselves overcoming whatever the issue is. For example, like if anyone gets diagnosed of anything or has particular issues, they'll go to a doctor, or they'll, look online on Google, and they'll have all of these different things. And then people get confused because they don't know which one to try. And a lot of times people will try all of them because they're going, well, let's do everything and surely one of them will work. But the thing is, if you were exposed to the right information and the different modalities, that would apply to you, you as an individual would resonate with the right one for you. And it's having that confidence in yourself going, this sounds and feels right for me. And if you are aware of that and you're confident in your decision, you're going to get so much better because of your ability to take on board and do what you know needs to be done. And I think that's super lacking in today's world. It's the lack of real information. As in, this is going to help you because of these reasons, not just listening to the doctor, I'll just take 3 of them every day for the rest of my life and I'll be okay. That's not cool at all. Its power is in the knowledge. And the more knowledge you have, you can direct your own way forwards, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, and I'm going to bring you in a second, Cooney, because you can't just sit there looking pretty. We want to bring you into the conversation. So look, so we mentioned before about different treatment options available. So maybe we can look into that one now as well. So we start with you, Tracy.
Yeah, before we go there, what I'd like to say is what we have a growing thing through the world are what we call integrative and functional medicine doctors. These are MDs with basic medical training. They understand the systems in the body, but as a rule, they many times have had their own autoimmune disease or something like this has motivated them to look at health with their science background and create a model where they can give people the information they need. Currently, we have one integrative Indonesian doctor now. She's placed her licence at Health Hub and is available on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, just in case I forgot to share that. The other doctors are global, and with telemedicine we can click into those because each doctor's got their own favourite subject. Yeah, treatment options. The first, if I asked some of the experts, if you had a diagnosis, what would be the first thing you would do? And one particular one, his was ozone. Get your blood clean as quick as you can with ozone. We're talking pathogens, fungi, viruses, mould. Do a dialysis, clean the blood. And the next thing was hypothermia. This is heat to activate the immune system.
Okay, I'm very conscious about not leaving people behind. Maybe the last time that I do this, which means it won't be the last time. Ozone treatment. Raise your hand if you know what that is or you heard of it before. Ozone treatment. Okay, cool. So who hasn't heard of ozone treatment before? All right. I think that's worthy of a little explanation. Again, we don't want to leave people behind here.
Okay, so most people should be aware that the body deteriorates in a oxygen-depleted environment. Meaning, if our body is able to access a lot of oxygen, our body will be at health, as in it won't deteriorate at all. So ozone is basically a form of oxygen, and it's basically it can be infused in the blood, so like an IV, or you can infuse ozone into drinks and all that kind of stuff that you can take on as well. IV is probably the most effective. Dialysis machine. So basically it's cycling ozone, so higher concentrations of oxygen into your body as well. So many, many decades ago, I can't remember the name of the doctor, but basically I think they won the Nobel Peace Prize for finding basically if cancer will only survive in an oxygen depleted environment. So if you're basically feeding yourself with foods and drinks and that will increase the oxygen levels, you will not get cancer.
And just to give a little bit more context, and Tracy will get you back in a second, is so if the body, which it is, it has this homeostatic mechanism. If you cut yourself, your body's healthy, it will heal itself, right? Sometimes the body's overloaded with so much, maybe toxicity or challenges that we're going through in a second. And what we're saying is that ozone, right? And this is where I'm going to pass it over to you. Allows the body to reset.
Yeah, because you're clearing this out. It takes a load off the body that doesn't have to go through your liver, kidney, and this. We also use the far infrared, the sweat through the skin. We use it any way to get the junk out, basically, so the body can do what it's meant to do. Yeah.
Right. All right, so that's the use of ozone, in case you're wondering what it is. You don't have to go into space. to get it. I know some people say, do I have to get in a rocket and go into space? It can happen. That's one of the treatment options available. Yep.
So that allows the body to have some support to come back into that space where it can function again. So we're talking functional medicine. Then at the same time, simultaneously, we're looking at biome to get the gut going. It depends what's caused the disease. Is it genetic? Is it the metabolism? It could be anything. It could just be the shock, some trauma, like major thing that the person can't handle and their body shuts down. But what it is years of the body in decline and having certain cells there. So if we can support the system that would normally deal with cancer cells, because cancer is not a disease, we say it's a survival mechanism, then we can create a healthy environment inside the body.
Got it. So what Tracy's also alluding to, and those here who maybe have been to a few of these will understand this already, is talking about whole health, right? Whole health with an integrative approach, which is based on functional medicine. So functional medicine, what it basically means is you go to the root cause of whatever is causing the symptoms that you're suffering from. The root cause. So whole health, functional medicine, and integrative, yeah? Okay. So biome. So you brought up biome. I'm looking at Cooney because I would love to get you involved, Cooney. So when it comes to the biome, which Tracy just mentioned, maybe if you could maybe explain what it is, firstly, because there may be people here who don't know what biome is, and then maybe one or two reasons why you believe that it's really important.
Human body basically contain
So
about 90% of microbiome inside our bodies. Microbiome has basically has a bad bacteria, good bacteria, and also the one in the middle. And usually when people get sick, it's because one of the balance is not balanced. So maybe the bad bacteria, the good bacteria become a bad bacteria. So that's how the bad bacteria take over our bodies and we become sick. So why I think that there's
Sorry,
studies.
could you just point at your mouth? Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry. So there's studies in Harvard universities collaborating with several universities that actually they find out that actually the immune system on the human actually related a lot with the microbiome, the balance of the microbiome. That's how the reason that I go into it is because of, for me, basically, everything is come from trying to balance out the good bacteria and bad bacteria inside your bodies. So if you manage to be able to balance it in your body, then basically your immune system can actually defend yourself whenever there's a bad bacteria coming inside your body, so preventing all the diseases infecting your body. So that's how my connotation is. There's more and more studies about the microbiome, but it's not as complete yet because there's still a lot of things that going on between, especially because on the gut, our guts, and also on the skin has all different kind of microbiome, bacteria, different kind of bacteria. Each human also have a different kind of bacteria. So it's very complicated, but it's more studies coming out. To actually regulate it, there's a lot of things that we have to think, we have to actually look into because where we live and what we eat is actually affecting our microbiome inside our bodies. So say that people that live in the urban area and then the rural area, they have totally different kind of microbiome inside their bodies because when you live in the rural area, you are exposing yourself to so many different kind of bacteria and all different kind of things outside the nature. So that's automatically will also build up your immune system. That's why most of the people also said that if you live in a rural area, basically children that grow up in the rural area, they have less allergy problems. and it's actually proven as well. So that's how to cut it short.
Thank you, Cooney. So what you're getting an idea of, by the way, we'll go to questions in about 5 or 10 minutes or so. And so if you have any questions, ideally, it's good to direct them to a person, right? So Tracy, Tav, Cooney, in case you've forgotten. Direct them to a person, and then they can answer that question for you. Then there'll be, afterwards, there'll be an opportunity, because this is all on camera, in case you didn't know. It's all on camera. So if you have some more questions of a more private nature, then after we switch the cameras off, there'll be some time to do that. And then finally, if you'd like to have a chat to any individual, I believe that they'll also be staying back for a little bit of time so you can have a personal chat to them. And the other thing which I want to quickly mention is that, Health Hub Bali is based in Pereira, and every Friday talks, correct still? Good? Of course, a Friday market, right? Which we'll get into in a second. So this is really supposed to be a little teaser, because in an hour or so, there's only a certain amount that we can actually cover. So the idea is that if this interests you, this whole health journey, which again, we've touched upon some of them, from the gut to the brain to so many different aspects to this. If this interests you and you want to go deeper, you want to learn more, then I suggest that you do Health Hub Bali on Instagram and all the other social media feeds, and Friday markets, which are there in Pereira. Also, they're combined with talks with experts as well. Yeah? Okay, cool. So just before we go to questions, Tracy, is there anything that you'd like to cover? There was safe homes. There was that one as well that we spoke about before.
Yeah.
Before we go to questions, yeah.
All right. So before I even do that, when we're talking microbiome, we're also with what Cooney's team is creating. We're talking probiotics, prebiotics, and all this to get the gut in a good state, and enzymes. These are the type of things that would be essential. Once we've worked out what the root cause, one of the things we did miss was the teeth, a hidden infection. So we want to clear any pathogen or hidden infection in the body. After that, rebuilding it and activating the gut. And also the other point, that the information from the gut, the science has found that it is 90% more messages sent from the gut to the brain than the other way around. So that's why it's essential. And the other point here is in Indonesia, the doctors, I think, where was it? Yogyakarta. They are working now with a lot of researchers, probably 50 doctors on this subject with cancer. And they're doing research, amazing results they're getting as well. So that's one of the things. The next thing is to get the life back into the body. Before we go into the other subject, I'd really like Tav to talk about that.
Yeah, wonderful. Life back into the body. Yeah. She hasn't set you up at all. One of the things, just before we get to Tav, so tonight has been an interesting show, right? So we were supposed to have Joonas, supposed to have your pharmacist. Joonas, I don't know where he is. Hopefully he's still with us. The pharmacist got called away to some very important meeting. I really hope it is important. So yeah, but the show must always go on, right? This is what we must do. So I just want to thank you all for bearing with us. I also want to thank Cooney for stepping in. Tav, you're a legend, obviously, and Tracy as well. So, all right, so now we'll get back to the question about bringing life back into the body. Then after that, we'll go to your questions. The microphone that Cooney has will be passed around the audience by a beautiful Ayu. And with these microphones, as I mentioned before, this doesn't really work so well. So just point them, these ones point at your mouth. Okay, Tav, over to you.
Okay. All right, I think most of the devices and technologies and modalities that I have familiarized myself with over the last decade or more, it's basically about balancing the body. And see, the body knows what to do to heal itself. It's a matter of being able to reach that state of equilibrium. And the best thing to do is put your body in the best environment so it can heal itself naturally, whether that's internally or externally as well. So some of the different technologies that we use, we were talking about earlier, like PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field, and that works in a way Basically, our body are like batteries. It's like when we're full of energy, it's the same as when our phone's fully charged. It's working, it's super effective, and that when it's getting super low, it's not working as efficiently as it should. It slows down, all that kind of stuff. So, one of the things we can do with PEMF is actually increase the voltage of the cells. It increases the spin of the electrons inside of the cells. The faster they're spinning, the more efficiently our body works. By being exposed to PEMF, not only does it increase the voltage of our cells, but it also opens up the pores on our cells as well. So our cells basically have pores, the same as our skin, that allows us to breathe and sweat and that. So our pores have the same thing. If we're opening up the pores in our cells, we can flush all of the toxins and help detox our body. And so there's a particular rhythm and pattern that we can do things in to make things more effective. For example, if you're using a PEMF machine and then have a sauna, it's going to be much more effective at detoxing the body because it's opening up the pores and allowing you to flush all of these things out. And before, when I was saying about allowing your body to reach that state of equilibrium so it can heal itself, one of the biggest things that we can do is detox our body. And then so there's a number of different things. Tracy mentioned far infrared, whether it's saunas or different devices as well, heating up the body. When people get sick, we get a fever. It's our body's natural response to heat ourselves up from the inside. Bacteria can only grow in a certain kind of environment. If you're changing the environment and it's too hot for the bacteria or parasites to grow, they're going to die. They're going to leave your body. So it's basically doing the right things for your body to allow itself to heal itself. So it's basically understanding what your body needs and then giving it that and then the space so it can do what it needs to do naturally.
Mate.
Did that answer it?
Mate, you're clearly a legend,
Okay.
right?
All right?
Thank you very much, Tav. No, that was great. I mean, did everyone keep up with that? Just double checking, yeah? No one in any... Catherine, are you sure? All right. Okay, she doesn't want to ask the question. Ask the question, Catherine. You'll be okay. Thank you, Tav. And look, Tracy, so just before we go to questions, and you, Quinn, is there anything you'd like to add to what was just said or anything that you feel you want to talk about, even if we haven't spoken about it yet? Yep. Now's a good time.
So with Health Hub, we're not anti-Western medicine. Sometimes what we find, we talked about beyond the diagnosis, we're saying whatever you choose, we want to make conscious choices. There's some information you need to know, some percentages. Flip what the doctor, the medic's saying to you, really understanding what the whole picture is. So then whatever you do choose, sometimes we have to work quickly. The modern issues with health that we have now, if it's left too long, ideally we want to prevent these situations, but it may need surgery. But the idea is that we, like I said, get the life back into the body. We do whatever we have to do, and they're where the options are for the body to heal. We can support that here in Bali. And that's where the other pharmacist that was here understand how the chemistry, the alchemy of the body healing with the science, how the cells work, how it can heal, regardless of what we use, yeah.
Great, thank you. And Kuni, is there anything you wanted to mention that may not be related to that, but anything that you think could be important for people to hear?
I think I want to share one of the case that my dog has. So my dog has a severe allergy. So he had a really bad infection on his elbow and his ear. So the vet actually recommended me to use antibiotic cream and also antibiotic orally pill. So we gave him about 1 week, and it did not help anything. It doesn't change any condition whatsoever. So I came up with an idea to actually try to regulate the microbiome inside his body. So I added I used 7 different extracts, and then also I add some prebiotic. So prebiotic is actually a food for a good bacteria to grow. And within a day, the infection stopped. Wow. And we had, we did several testing to the street dogs and stuff like that. And most of it actually healed within 6 days. So this is what I really want to tell people as well, that it's not necessary that intrusive medication or treatment can actually good for your body. It's actually sometimes creating more problem. So it's always good that always try to find alternative, because I think nature gives us a lot to actually heal ourselves. So you just need to go out and try to find your the best way to cure yourself.
That's beautiful, Cooney. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Sister Ayu, yeah, if you could come and grab that mic from Cooney. Just a bit of bit of kung fu to get underneath there. So now questions. So how it works, raise your hand. I know, raise your hand, and there you go, and the microphone will find you. If you can choose a person to answer your question, that will be helpful as well. So over to you, Carol.
Oops.
Wait a second. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. So my question, actually, I've got 3 questions.
Okay.
They're all for Tav.
Tav on the hot seat. Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah, you're in front of me. Can you explain the how the body works when it comes to heating it in order to get rid of bad stuff, as you mentioned, yet knowing that every source of illness is due to an inflammation? For me, that doesn't make any sense because it comes from heat. So what's going on?
Well, so our body becomes inflamed when it's trying to basically isolate a particular issue or something like that. Over in Japan, there's actually some hospitals over there that they've actually got entire wards dedicated to what they call thermotherapy, which is actually heating the body in order to, eliminate cancer or, different diseases and all that kind of stuff. As I said, when we get sick, our body heats up, we have a fever. One of the big things that a lot of parents do, when their kids get a fever, they give them Panadol or some kind of paracetamol to reduce their temperature. Fucking worst thing ever to do, because then you're just prolonging the issue, right? You're not actually allowing the body to actually deal with what it needs to do naturally. So it's crazy. With regards to, I guess, the body doing that and sort of forming or creating inflammation, as I said, it's basically doing that to protect itself. Usually it's from some kind of injury or something like that. You might got hit or something like that, and then it swells as a way of sort of protecting that while it's trying to sort of send as much blood and oxygen to that area to sort of repair itself as well.
Okay, but I still don't understand. Okay. Because I've been told that every source of illness is due to an inflammation. So how do you treat an inflammation by an inflammation?
Well, heating isn't actually sort of creating inflammation.
Okay.
Yeah. So inflammation is basically, the way that I interpret it is that it's basically sort of like your body's, as I said before, it's trying to sort of protect itself. The way that, and I think it was something like, the T cells. But there was another, I think Hippocrates or something like that basically sort of said something like, if you can heat your bones, you can eliminate disease. So it's not just heating the body in an isolated area, it's actually the entire body, which is what, our body does naturally when it gets sick. It's actually like heating up the entire body, not just where you feel sick in your chest or your head or anything like that. You're like hot all over.
So we'll go to question 2.
You spoke about the need to inform ourselves and the overwhelming quantity of information that's out there. And the more knowledgeable we are, the more powerful we are. The more knowledgeable I am, the more confused I get. So how do I get rid of the confusion, especially when I'm sick and I might not be able to trust my intuition as much as I would if I was not?
I think for me, it's learning or trying to learn as much of this information before you get sick. Because, usually people only care about their health when they're in poor health. And then it's like, oh my God, please help, I'm so bad kind of thing. So that's why I feel it's important to sort of school yourself as much as possible on as many different things. And then you can because you're right, there's so much mis and disinformation out there. How do we really find out what's accurate, what's true or not.
Friday markets, Health Hub Bali, Pereira None. Just came up, sorry.
So for me, you know, like when I'm learning about something, I'll learn everything. I'll find everything that I can about it, whether it's good, bad, whether I know it's for it or against it, and then I use my common sense as to what resonates with me and what feels right. And then and the thing is, for me, you know, when I learn something deeply, I learn as much as I possibly can. So then when someone asks me a question, I can explain it in common sense that then makes sense. I'm not going to be in front of you talking like a doctor, speaking big words that they're trying to, you know, basically confuse you so you don't even want to ask any more questions so you don't look stupid. But the thing is, if you can explain it to someone simply enough that they get it, then it all makes sense. There's no more questions. They go, all right, that makes sense. I feel that's the truth. That's what I'm going to do.
Question 3.
Final question. How were you affected emotionally and also healthfully, if there is such a word, when you found out about the cancer of your wife?
I was pretty pissed off. Basically, my wife had been to her doctor, the GP, for like a year or even more before that, and saying, hey, I've got this lump in my breast. You know, do I do what's the problem? Should I get it looked at? She was breastfeeding at the time, and the doctor said, no, don't worry about it. It's just your milk, you know, coming in. I think before she'd had birth. And so basically they just said, don't worry about it. It's nothing. And then we got that diagnosis. She actually passed away 5 months after we found out. So it was super fast. And obviously it doesn't leave a very good taste in your mouth when the doctors that she trusted for so long had no idea what they were doing. And basically, and then, you know, you go to the oncologist and they're just telling you, basically they gave us 2 options. It's like you can have chemotherapy or radiation therapy. Either way, you're going to die within 6 to 12 months. That was their best case scenario kind of thing. So that's basically when we started going, all right, we're not interested in what you've got to say anymore because that's not what we want to look at. That's when we started looking at everything else, all of the other alternative options and that. So yeah, it messes with you mentally, I guess. But I kind of feel, you know, I guess I've had a lot of painful experiences in my life where I recognize that it's an opportunity to grow, to learn and all that kind of stuff. So no one wants to be in that situation, but I recognize that it was something that happened and that it meant something and it was for a reason or for a purpose kind of thing. And I didn't know, you know, immediately or at the time what that was, but, you know, as time sort of progressed and passed, it was like, all right, what am I going to do with this experience and how am I going to use it to my advantage kind of thing. So, yeah.
Great questions. Thank you, Carol. Tav, thank you for that, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. So question over here, and then we'll go to our pharmacist. I've got a few good things to say about him. All right. Okay. Yeah. Guzman, to mic him up. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you for sharing this. Tav, I just want to say I can totally, all of you, I totally resonate with what you're doing, what you're going through, and I can totally resonate what you just shared, Tav, because cancer was the first thing that I started looking into. However, my understanding is much more in the realm of mental health. So I want to ask Tracy, if I may, that you guys spoke about the biome, and are you doing any work in the mental health related to the biome as well? I mean, we know that when people get stressed out, it's instantly, you get the runs or something, and how linked mental health is to the biome. And I'm just wondering, in general, are there any other aspects of mental health that you guys work with?
Yep. So this is episode number 12. We go back to the beginning. We're about to fix up our YouTube channel so you can see them. But the original 2, segments, we had panels. We had an expert for the last decade in Austria. He was studying microbiome, but he's actually got a psychology degree. And he's looking for a laboratory to work from. So we're hoping ones like this here in Indonesia that we can get that sorted out as well. But he's probably cutting edge.
And Reshi as well.
Yeah, and then on the trauma side, mental health and that, we're growing our ones here in Bali. We've got Dr. Reshi, who's an expert on trauma, impact on the body. I come from a somatic background, so he also deals a bit with that as well. But that's the main thing. Like, originally, starting with cancer in whatever it was, 15 years ago, there was about 1 in 2 males in Australia and 1 in 3 females that were being diagnosed. As a rule, they're both hormone-driven cancers. So that's when you go down the road of thoughts, feelings, emotions. As a rule, most had some traumatic experience they did not handle well. Next minute, they've got a diagnosis. It was too quick. So that's why we've spun around now to, number one, build the resilience. Our children need to learn how to deal with life, but also keep the body clean. So the toxins, what is cancer? What is that lump with the toxins in? It should have been out. Are you methylating or under-methylating? How your liver is functioning? So we can live a life that under stress we can still function properly. So that's what part of this is, yeah.
And then we also had, I remember now, it was Professor, I always bring it up, don't I? Those of you like, again, Professor Gelgelwida Sutta, Balinese. He is the advisor to the governor for traditional Balinese medicine and traditional Balinese wellness, right? And he's a toxicologist, right? He's his background. Phenomenal guy. If he's watching here, hey, girl, how you doing, mate? But a very nice man as well. Beautiful guy, great soul. And I remember I asked him a question. I said, like, Professor Gelgel, right? So, what is one of the most critical factors when it comes to health in the body? Not the, but one of. Right, and I was expecting, Balinese wellness, and then I was expecting something, maybe yoga, something else. Yoga's great, by the way, sorry, right? I was expecting that, but no, he said, Rob, Tracy was here as well, it's the way that you think, it's your thoughts, actually, right, which he believes is one of the biggest determinants of your health in your body, the way that you think. So this, and also, Sequoia was the microbiome with the psychology that Tracy mentioned. Also, we just had Reshi Joseph, the Doctor Who, phenomenal guy. Like, he went from doctor, check this one out, doctor, addict, and then he became a coach, like a psychologist. So doctor, addict, psychologist, in that order. And these are the people you want to listen to, right? Those who have actually been through the shit, sorry, I'd say it clear, and came out the other side, so that when they actually speak to you, there's not authenticity, but another level of authenticity. They've been through what they're telling you about. I haven't read it in a book and saying this should work. It's like, this is what I went through. This is what worked for me. And this guy's pretty famous now. This has worked for however many hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe it will work for you too. So just anchoring on that point. Tracy, before I go to this beautiful man over here, the pharmacist, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, so 85% were the figures they came up with. That's affected by the mental health and that.
Yep.
I just want to add to what you said, and I can confirm experientially that it is about thought processes. My issue of 20 years was bipolar. Over 5 years ago, I made a radical change in my life. Well, let's say 10 years ago, I was bipolar meditating, which was beautiful. It kept me balanced for a short time. But then 5 years ago, I took a radical change and literally changed the thought processes. I've since learned that it's basically a level of literally neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah. And it's all about thought processes. Everything starts with a thought. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
So, what I was going to say something then when he said.
I love the way she looks at me. I was about to say something like, I'm inside her head. I'm like, yeah, I know what it was.
No, I'm trying. Yeah,
however, it's a sounding board. Now she remembers. It's okay. It works.
When people say things like, "Oh, it's in my family," like say cancer or manic depression, but it's the patterns, what they learnt from little. This is why with the mamas to learn this, really for us all to look at our own behaviour. What are we mirroring for the children? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, and they create those hormones. And owning that, then we have a choice. And this is all chemistry, whether it's chemistry in the toxins we have to clear is on every level. That's why it's whole health. Yeah. And even the way we walk and stand, the girls that do the work, the body work, the fascia, and our movement changes, our thoughts change. And this is the science of checking the MRIs on the brain and how we respond, where things are locked in the body and releasing it through the body work.
And so just two things I want to do. We're going to be coming to a close fairly soon, but two things I want to do. I just want to, can we give a round of applause to Cooney? I know she disappeared, but Cooney, round of applause. There she is. She did so well. Now, my brother, Tav, maybe I get the other microphone, yeah, and we'll pass to you. Now, when I first met this beautiful man, when I was talking to Itchy, and they're saying, oh yeah, you know, we have this pharmacist on board, right? And I was like, okay, pharmacist. Now, like a little, the last time I do this, I promise. So when you think of a doctor, right, who thinks of an old guy wearing a white jacket? Just put your hand up. Be honest. Be honest. Put your hands up, people. Everyone does, right? So I'm thinking pharmacist. I'm thinking like, okay, you're way ahead of me. The pharmacist, I'm thinking of it like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, overweight, probably, possibly, right? With that, you know, with like the eye. They don't look so well or healthy. This guy rocks up. It's just like, this is our pharmacist. I look at him, I was like, is this guy a model? He's fit, he looks good, he speaks at 1,000 miles an hour. He won't now because I said that. But just honestly, like he was the polar opposite of what I imagined a pharmacist to look like.
Because that's biome. I think so.
So my brother, you've come in. So just to make sure that everyone doesn't realize that Cooney has changed, right? It's good. I did warn them before, right? So maybe could you give us maybe a minute or so on your background and how you came to become a pharmacist and why you are a pharmacist? I know, short questions, easy question.
Okay, I'm sorry for coming late because some jobs is that I have to finish first. Okay, so my name is Adi. I'm a pharmacist. I graduated from one of university in Indonesia from Airlangga, Surabaya. I graduated in 2009. It's around 14 years ago. 14 years ago. So why I become pharmacist? Actually, I don't know what is pharmacy before. Yeah, when I passed from the senior high school, I just want to go to the doctor side. But unfortunately, my background is not so from rich people. Yeah, so still that issue in Indonesia. So when you want to go to the faculty, medicine, or become a doctor, you need a lot of money. That's still a problem. I think it's major in other world also. I don't know, in US or Europe, it's still that same condition here in Indonesia. That's why my family cannot afford that. So the second option with lesser cost, but still close to the doctor, so I pick pharmacy. I literally don't know that pharmacy is connected with the medicine at all at the time. So yeah, okay, I've passed 5 years and graduated. So first time I work in the traditional medicine industry. First time. It's around 10 years. Yeah, 10 years, for 10 years. And jump into the cosmetic area. So jump into the cosmetic area. So my specific area or my interest is only in the natural way. And right now, I really like or enthusiast in the microbiome side. Because from what I studying also with the team and also with the Kuni, we found that microbiome is like a future right now. I mean, the study is already starting from a few years ago, maybe from a long time, but right now, people become aware of their health issue right now. Because using a medicine, not because I'm a pharmacy, but using a medicine for long-term treatment, it seems like you kind of like it like a toxic or something like that. That's why, okay, so why don't we change our direction to using a more safety treatment for a long term and better life. I think that's what I can say for now.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you being here, man. And look, so what we'll do, so we'll probably begin to wrap up now. So Tav, I'll put you in it because I know you can handle it. And so I'll give you a bit of time to think. So like a parting thought that you'd like to leave people with, this might be reiterating something that you've said already, or it might be something that you've kind of wanted to say but haven't said yet. You'll get a minute. You'll get some time to do so in a moment. Then we'll go to Tracy after that, and I'll say a few words now to give you some time to think. So everyone here, this Speak Up Monday, once a month, the first Monday of every month, is curated by Health Hub Bali. Tracy has told you about what that's about. I have mentioned that Friday markets are here in Pereira. If you wonder where that is or what it is, just go online, Health Hub Bali. You'll find it all there, but it's a market and talks with experts, right? So if you've liked or you've kind of been interested by what you've heard here, then it's worthwhile going to check that out. On the higher side, Health Hub Bali is also working with government, advising government on various projects, working with various hospitals, and that is about how do we bridge the gap between what the hospital already is providing and maybe how that connects. So you've kind of got, imagine you've got medical tourism at the top, you've got like wellness around here, underpinning, and then you've got health tourism that connects those two together. And that's where I see Health Hub Bali playing a big role. On the patient side, as we mentioned, it's about information, the latest information from the world, tap in. On the second side, it's about health coach, client journeys, patient journeys, what is individual, what is needed for you personally, may not be true for somebody else, but you personally. And the third aspect there is certification, which is coming in, which is about how do we ensure that the practitioners are at that level of understanding and knowledge, which they, like our brother Tav over here, they not only walk their talk, but they talk their walk, right? It comes from a pure place, comes from experience and background. And the final thing that I want to say is just thanks to Ichi, Kuni on the show. Can't believe it. That's great. Guzmang, Sister Ayu, who's around here. These guys, there she is. These guys at Tropical Nomad make it work every week. This is episode 354. We've done about 170 episodes here. It's crazy. It's never going to stop. So, so that's the bit that I want to say. So now, so some closing words, some parting words, Tav, Tracy, and then we'll close after that.
All right. Tracy before mentioned she's not anti-Western medicine. I pretty much am. And it's only because, because I've been exploring this for so long, I see that it's designed by the people that pay the doctors. It's basically built by the pharmaceutical industry. So if you are basically being guided by someone who's being paid to sell the drugs or sell the procedures and all that kind of stuff, I would be looking at the opposite of what they're saying to do. That's me personally. Look, there's a place for it, for sure. Like if we get into an accident, they're the people that can help us immediately and all that kind of stuff. But they're the ones that are also feeding us drugs that are going to keep us ill. And that's kind of what we need to recognize and understand and learn from that. There's so many different amazing technologies and information that's been buried and suppressed for so long. And it's only just kind of starting to see the light of day. Don't go on Google because that's all bias and, that's going to point you in the wrong direction, misdirection as well. So I prefer getting most of my information from books that were printed before 1960s kind of stuff, before it started getting infiltrated and then the wrong information out there kind of stuff. Obviously, there's been a lot of developments, in the last how many decades. So there's still a lot of good people out there trying to do the right thing. It's just when it gets to a certain level, they just disappear or they get bought out and you never hear from it again. So it's a matter of just, keep looking, doing a lot of research, not just read the first thing and then try it, but do a broad range of research and then feel what resonates. And, what these guys were saying before, it's so much of it has got to do with how you think about it. So if you're feeling yep, this is the one, it's going to work for me, I guarantee you that's probably going to work better than all of the other things that everyone else is going to say. Like, so many times I've heard people say, this worked for me, it got rid of this for me, so it'll work for you. That's not often the case. Everyone is different. It's not just everyone is different, but there's different times in their life, different times of the year. You know, it's like parasites, they live on this lunar cycle as well. So it depends on full moon, new moon, and all that kind of stuff, how and when you should be starting treatments and that as well, and how effective it's going to be. So there's so many different things to get into. It's just a matter of educating yourselves and then diving into it. So.
Mate, you're a legend, Tav. Thank you. Appreciate you. So, Adi, we'll give this one to Tracy, but I don't want to be rude, actually. I can see you nodding away as well. No, this one's yours. He's got one in it himself. So it's okay. You're all right. Okay. So, Adi, is there anything that you'd like to say? That I can see you nodding away.
Okay, regarding the future health or future medicine and all, I agree. I'm sorry.
Tav.
I agree with that. That we are knowing better our condition, right? I mean, we are very responsible with what we have right now. So choose the right thing for us, not from other people or maybe like a clinic or something like that. Because all those things, it's very subjective, right? Because it's very individual. Because as I know that medicine, 50% is based on the active compound of the medicine itself, based on the structure and so on, and the 50% is about the trust. Yeah. There's a study regarding those things. Wow. Because if you know like a placebo, nocebo, and the active itself. So there's a random trial and so on. One is giving us a suggestion regarding this medicine, and the other one is giving the active one. And at the end of the result is same. That's why if you believe of something, just try to deep in that side. And regarding the microbiome itself, my concept is simple. Balance. Everything is about balance. Because if go to the right side or go to the left side, it will be not good. But when you go to the center, that is the perfect one. Because when you choose regarding like using a Western side or traditional or alternative side, two of things is, I think there's a benefit and risk also, right? So choose wisely which one is better for your health. I mean, there's also the consequences. For the acute condition, maybe the West medicine, we call it West medicine, right? West medicine may be appropriate, but for the long-term treatment, for the degenerative disease or something like that, maybe the Western is not so appropriate. The alternative one may be the best option. But regarding the microbiome, for now, that's the best option, I think.
Thank you, Adi. Another legend. And I like you before. Like you even more now. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And so, Sister Tracy, over to you.
Yeah. So, what you said just then and what you said. West meets east in Bali. What we're saying, we start west and we go east. Why? Because we want the baselines, we want the preventative model. But the other part of what Adi just said was that sometimes it's a case of, because of our programming from when we're little, you get a diagnosis, we give our power to the white jacket. If we don't do those treatments that they're saying, we will die from the sheer fact that our brain believes that. So what we're saying now is taking the knowledge, somehow or another, reset that you have enough knowledge to make an informed choice, and then you make that choice, how your body heals. You own that pathway, and it's a journey. It's all about balance because it's homeostatic. Our body heals, we're about health. But sometimes if we want to live, we don't have time to reset all that. We have to go with the doctors, and that's the idea. We work with experts who understand whole health. They've got a medical background, and it is alchemy, and then we just work with that. And at the end of the story, we connect, like most I say indigenous, we connect back to ourselves. We are all indigenous. And we've got that inner knowing of what is good for us. But that's what's been lost, given to the West, yeah.
You know, so just a final word is that this is episode number 12 of this Future of Health series, yeah? If you want to look at the other episodes, and I suggest you do, right? We will get them on your YouTube channel. Right now, they're on the YouTube channel for Speak Up Monday. So if you just go Speak Up Monday, Speak Up, one word, Monday, go into the playlists and just search for, Future of Health. You'll get to 11 other episodes full of experts, heart, soulful people, which have got a background in science-based. Yeah, so it's not just words that plucked from anywhere. Science-based, and a lot of it is experientially based as well, right? Authentic, beautiful people. So check that one out. Remember, I said it about 8 times, but Friday Market, Health Hub Bali, just go online, you'll find it. Market as well as, a talk given by experts, information. You can go deeper into this. And then next week, we're into the blockchain world. So that will be a beautiful guy called Gozzi, who you know, Carol, who's got an incredible panel, all Indonesian panel, to talk about some deep developments within blockchain. Also, there'll be immigration involved in there as well. So there's a few things that will make a very interesting episode. So thanks again to you, Tropical Nomad, everyone who's here. Thanks to our panel, brother, Sister Kuni over there somewhere. Yeah, she's like the sigh. Oh, it's over. Kuni, Adi, thank you. Tav, and obviously Tracy. Thank you to you. Round of applause. See you next week. Thank you very much.